Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Joni Young, and if you're new here, I'm going to be showing you step-by-step weekly how to paint in acrylics. Today I'm working on a really special winter landscape. This has got me thinking about my little grandson, and maybe it's somebody special in your life. Maybe you've got a little boy, you've got memories of past Christmases of your young loved ones. Whatever it is, I hope this painting brings you joy and you learn a lot at the same time. So let's go over the size of canvas today. So this is a 60 by 20 canvas. I have pre-painted it in gray, and I'll show you the gray that I'm using. It's just a loose Americana premium acrylic paint. This is slate gray, but you can use a little bit of black and white to make the same color. I recommend a few coats. They make sure that it's nice and even, and you wait till it's completely dry. We're going to be using some titanium white to start, and a number 50 Filbert brush. I'm going to get this brush just a little bit wet first. A little water on my brush is going to help the paint flow and be more transparent. I just want to go up and down, so I'll just load my brush both sides, and we can just even start right here with more of the foreground here as a guide. And then just simply up and down, sometimes bringing the lines up higher, sometimes keeping them a little bit lower. I need a little bit more water on my brush just to help this paint flow a little bit more smoothly. I'm going to pick up a little bit more now. And I'm going to turn my brush a little bit like this on an angle and start to slide. Now these could be trees in a forest in the background, kind of blurry-ish and broken up. Could also be maybe some tall buildings. Maybe he's in the city looking at a beautiful lit Christmas tree. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm fine with that. I may need to brighten it up. We'll see how it dries over the next half an hour or so. But I'm going to come down here and add a little bit of snow and highlights in the foreground, just the first stages. So we know the little boy is going to be standing right about here. There's going to be a shadow where his feet go in. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a line right about there. So right here is where I'm going to be placing his feet. And just to clean up this area where we pulled our lines down, we'll add a little bit of round little bits of snow. And then just a really light little scumble here. I'm just going to soften the edge here and take off a little bit of that paint. So again, just a light little scumble, changing up the depth and highlights, making it look a little bit more 3D. So the next thing I'm going to do is use my number 12 flat brush, some water and white paint, and I'm going to create some pretty light coming from behind the tree and just creating more of an atmosphere here. So I'm going to get my brush wet, really thin this white out so it's more transparent. And the tree's going to cover up any harsh lines over here, so I'm not really worried about how that's going to look. So I'm just going to line up, and I need a little bit more water. So we'll add a few of these. I'll even add a few right here. Okay, so now we're ready to come in and start painting our tree. I'm going to be using a Filbert brush for this. And I'll be using my number 30 Filbert brush. You can use a fan brush if you want. It all depends on how you like to paint your trees and what brushes you like to use. I prefer a Filbert brush, but for many years I used to use a fan brush. For the tree, I'm going to be using a combination of black and sap green. So I'm going to mix the two together. I'm going to use a ratio of maybe 70-30 for green. So just a little bit of black in there. And I'll start right here with the tree trunk. Slide my brush up all the way off canvas. This is a really big tree. Okay, now reload my brush, and I'm just going to start tapping in the branches. Just pushing and tapping side to side. My finger is here. I'm going to just push and twist to add a little bit of an upturn to my brush and these branches on the end. Okay, I'm just going to take one of my smaller Filbert brushes here. And do the same kind of thing, just adding a little bit more on the ends. And we'll just add a flat base here, slight shadow, a little bit more on the darker gray side. And then I'll come in with white, just tap and dab, and then right in front as well. Okay, I'm going to take another Filbert brush and add some snow. I'll just use the same one that I was using before. I want to apply the snow on wet paint, so my black and green is still a little bit wet. And I don't want to have a really snow-covered tree this time. I want this one to look a little bit more frosty. So I'm just going to start gently tapping a little bit more over top of where I'm tapping, like multiple times, just to start to get it blended up there into this kind of minty forest green shade. And then kind of just pull and wisp to make it look a little blurry like. It's all going to dry darker than this too, so I'm not worried about anything looking too light at this point. I know it'll dry to the right color and shade. The next brush I'm going to be using is a number 2 round brush. I'm going to start adding the garlands, the pretty beaded garlands, and some ornaments, just in white first. So I'm going to scoop up a bunch of white on the tip of my brush, and I'll just start tapping. So we're going to overlap them. And then every once in a while, I'll just add a few little dabs and little flicks here for little bits of other decorations, maybe some tinsel. I'm going to add a little bit more snow in some areas. I'm really just scumbling off what's already on my brush. I'm not picking up any more. I'm going to add a few Christmas balls. Just creating little circles, just in white first. Maybe a few different sizes. A few little lines here and there, just pulling, lightly pulling and dragging and flicking. Could be little icicles. I'll come inside and make some of these a little bit brighter by adding just more white. I'm going to take a flat brush again, a little bit of that watered down white. And just right up of here, I'm even going to pull out some of the wet white paint just to give it kind of a more of a moody, blurry look. So if you want it to look like some of yours are twinkling, then just pull and flick out in all directions. Okay, so now we're going to start painting our little boy. And I'm going to paint his face white first. So I think I'm actually going to start with his body, his pants, and I'll do a mixture of green and black, just with my round brush. You can use any brush you feel comfortable with though. And we'll start here down by his feet that are going to be hidden in the snow. So this will be sort of his boots down here, and then it's going to kind of ruffle over by his snow pants, start to come out and then up. And then the other boot is covered by the snow pants, start ruffling. So I'm just going to wiggle and smush right in here, go in and then come out, paint inside. Nice thick dark coat of paint. Okay, then I'm going to take a little bit more green. We're going to go up slightly and then over across. The scoop. The scarf's going to be right about there. With a little bit of a rounded back, and then have it come in here, go across his arm, pull back, and then forward, more towards the center here. And then his little mitten. So you can see a little bit of a thumb there too. Going to be a line here for a crease in the back of his coat. I'm going to take some white with some green. I'm just going to really slowly, very gently add a layer of this over. Creating some lines in the fabric of his coat. I'll bring this down just a little bit more. So that'll be a scarf there. I'm just going to add a little bit of white. I'm going to paint it a light blue after. It's kind of wrapped around twice, so I'm going to do 2 lines like this. Then I'm going to take fresh, clean white and add just a little rounded triangle like this first, okay? This is going to be part of his face, the beginning stages. And then we've got this little white, excuse me, triangle. Gonna scoop out a little area here. And a little area here. Take a little bit more white. His nose is right there, and then we have a line coming down like that. We can't see his eye in here. Just not going to be a whole lot of detail. Just a little bit of a profile. I'm adding a bit more white here to his cheek and his nose and his chin where it's going to be a little bit brighter. I'm going to come around with a little bit more white here for the snow that's starting to collect on his jacket, and also for some highlights. I come in here and add some on his pants as well. And then just a few little lumps down here. Can add a little bit of snow on this side as well. Could also be a nice bright highlight from the pretty rays that we've got there, that glistening light. Okay, now I'm going to come in with his toque. So we're going to do sort of a rounded rectangle. Okay, just like that. Lightly color it in. And then sort of half an oval shape. And then a little pom-pom. Now this hat looks really big, right? But part of it we're going to have some snow on and add some highlights. So I'm just going to take some black and white and make some gray for the shadow on his face. So right in here, just going to tap lightly. Have a little bit of a shadow. We will be adding our peachy skin color soon. So just a little bit like that. Okay, with a clean brush, I'm gonna just loosen up some of this white. It's kind of at that tacky stage when it's drying that can be really nice to work with. Mix a little bit of white in there with that green. My brush is fairly dry. I want this to look really streaky and patchy. This is going to help to create the folds in the jacket. I'm going to take more white, thick amount of white here, and I'm just going to create some low-lying Little lumps in the snow. Nothing too dramatic. And then just with my finger, I'm going to come in here and just soften. Add a little bit more snow here. Soften this with a little bit of water. Slightly go over the shadow side, make it a little hazier looking. Try and match that gray right now. Okay, now I'm going to bring in the other colors. I'm using the following: crimson red, light blue violet, and luminous or neon yellow warm. You can use any other variations of these colors. This is just what I'm choosing to use today, but feel free to change it up and create your own color palette for this painting. Okay, so I'm going to start with his face. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow warm, white, and red. Until I get the skin tone color that I want. Nothing too yellow and nothing too red, so just a nice in between like this. And then I'm going to take a little bit of white for the brighter highlights. I'm going to take this color and start adding some to the tree. So I've got a combination here of this peachy color, but then I'm going to take just yellow and white and add a little bit of that as well, so it's more on the bright side. I'm just making up as I go along where I might have some little lights. And of course the lighting is going to be different all over the tree, so you can make some areas a little bit brighter, some areas like right here I'll just add a little bit more white in some spots. Add a few lights. A little bit here and there as I go along. And I really like this color palette because the colors are soft, somewhat muted, with a little pop of red here and there, and the blue violet. The blue violet, of course, looks really pretty with the peach. Now whatever colors I have on the tree, I'm gonna add below here, reflecting on the snow. I think that looks really pretty. And a little bit coming off of the tree as well. Okay, so now I'm gonna add a little bit more peach and red, or this warm yellow and red, to this part of his face that's gonna be a little bit more, getting to be more in shadow. That over top of the gray will dry to a nice color. Oops. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take my red now, and I'm going to start adding a little bit of color just right inside here. And a little bit in here. I like the green and the black base for complementary colors, of course, and for shadow. Okay, then I've got some bows that I'm going to add over here. Just going to take a little bit of that warm yellow with my red, and a little gentle push, pull, and then a little wiggle and squiggle. Like little butterflies almost. Now I'm going to take a little bit of white and add a bit of a highlight. Maybe there's a few little bits here and there of a light red color. And then when I overlap with a little bit of blue, it's going to look really pretty. You get a little bit of a smoky plum purple color. I'll take quite a bit of white here. And add a little bit right down there. Okay, now I'm going to come in with some blue, and I'm going to bring up his scarf here. And I'm going to start to dab, kind of just roll and dab here for some shadows of where the snow is going to be. And maybe a little bit along here. So I'm kind of just rolling with my brush, right? Take a little bit of black and green right in here. Bring this over. And now I can take some white. Start tapping in for some snow. A little bit of black in here for some more shadow. Come in and add a little bit more, brighten this up. A little bit of blue with my black. A little bit of red. Good. Maybe I'll give him a red mitten. And then add some shadows using green. Okay, now I'm going to take just a little bit of black with my red. And I'm going to add a few little shadows here and there, little outlines on some parts of the bows. I need a little bit more red on this one somewhere. Add a little bit more shadow to his face here. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of blue down here for slight shadow color. A little bit right down in here. And a few little taps and dabs here. And I'm going to start coming in now with some blue accents. So see, you'll notice where we've got the peach colors, how pretty that looks. So I'll dab some on, partially over top and around, and then I'll purposely bring that color around little bits of red that I've got too, because that looks really pretty. Makes a nice light purple color. And I'm going to take some white this time with my blue. A little bit of that color down below. I'm going to make that soft purpley color. Very, very light. Create some little circles and then soften with my finger. Okay, then I'm going to come in with that bright yellow and white. Stumble out a little bit here. Make the tree look kind of blurry. I'll add a few more dabs. And then I'm going to spray on with a toothbrush. I'm going to make it look like it's snowing. So you want to get a toothbrush really wet and then fumble around to get it all loaded up on the bottom with white or whatever color you want your snow to be. And then I hold the brush like this with one hand, place my thumb here, and pull and flick up wherever I want snow. So I want it to look realistic. So sometimes I'm going to stand back a little bit further, get up close. I'm going to add a little bit more shadow to his face by taking this sort of a lavender smoky plum color I made with the red, white, and blue. And I'm going to start down here where it's darker and then just ease into it. A little bit of black in there. Just adding a little bit more of my shadows here. My black and green. Okay, I'm going to add my final highlights, a bit of warm yellow and white. Just scumble over, dry brush a little bit of this area around the tree. And I mixed up a little bit of sap green with white. Add just a little hint here and there. Not much, just a little bit. I give a warm highlight here with some young yellow and white. Okay, I'm going to call this one all done, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today. Hope you learned a lot, got inspired. If so, give this video a like and leave a comment below. Also, subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I want to wish you guys a wonderful day. Happy painting. Enjoy the season, and I hope you guys have fun painting this one. I'll see you all soon in another video. Bye, everybody.